correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPG, the podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience. Hey folks, welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm Steve, and at the moment, there is no other Steve. There may be one later. Transportation difficulties is all I'll say. But we're going to do a podcast anyway. But before I get into all that, I want to let you know about another show here on the D20 Radio Network, and that is Werewolf the Podcast, which is a retrospective podcast all about, as you just might guess from the name, the werewolf game from White Wolf, Onyx Path, etc. And this is it's a retrospective show where they talk a lot about the original Werewolf the Apocalypse, and I believe just the last couple of episodes they've released as we record this, they've started into the revised edition of the game. But it's a mix of, reviews and discussion about the various books, interviews with creators, talks about different ways to use different aspects of the game in your home games. Also, I believe they do some actual play. So if you're into Werewolf, check out Werewolf the Podcast. And I'll put a link for it in the show notes because I don't have the feed address in front of me. Or just search Werewolf the Podcast. But in any case, this is actually also me and Steve's 100th episode, which, I don't know why we've kept going this long, but we have. But in any case, to help celebrate that and also to talk about some cool stuff he's got going on, we brought back Embry to the podcast. So, hello, Egg, and welcome back to me and Steve.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations on 100 episodes. That's awesome.
Yes, it's either a manifestation of talent or bullheadedness. I tend to believe the latter, but...
I appreciate that now with me being on 2 episodes, I've been on 2% all Me and Steve episodes.
Oh, man, yeah. But no, I just figured it'd be fun to have you back on. I know we talked to you a while ago about kind of Kickstarter and crowdfunding, but also kind of combination of then and since have learned that you also do some game creation work and...
Indeed, I do.
And such, and figured it would also be kind of just a fun chat to kind of let people know a little more about the person who writes all these articles, all these places.
Appreciate that. So I'm gonna jump in here and talk about the fact that y'all have a werewolf podcast.
Okay.
So I'm from greater Metro Atlanta, and White Wolf, the company, started out in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is, I grew up in Lilburn, Stone Mountain. We're the next town over, same town in some cases. So one of my buddies ended up interning for them. So occasionally got to go over and be like, this is really cool. It'd be neat to do games for a living.
And you probably know this even better than I do, but it amazes me, though, with all the talks I get to have with different creators, is how many people who, as a consumer of games, you think, and especially going back to, when I started gaming in the 90s and whatnot, you think that, oh, they've got a published book. They must, but how many of the people that are recognized, small creators do it literally on the side just blows my mind.
Yeah. In some instances, it's getting better, but yeah, just tons of people that this is their hobby, and bless their hearts because they make my Saturday nights more fun as I get to game.
Yeah, but I think, though, to a certain point, and maybe, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but I think that may be why sometimes these small indie titles feel so much more, I don't know if intense is the right word, but it's because it's so much of a passion project for the people creating it.
Amen.
I don't know if, that's my theory anyway, is that's why, I'm not a big fan of the genre of D&D, Pathfinder, etc. It's just not my thing. But if you compare those books to, like a Chris Spivey's Haunted West, the level of passion that you can tell went into it it's different.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that to knock the WotC or the Paizo publications, because I think, granted, there's been some controversy recently, but
Mhm.
in general, they're well done products. But I think just because of the layers of people involved, they lose some of the passion.
Mhm. Gaming by committee as opposed to just GMing, it makes a difference. I mean, every time you're talking about a IZO, the coast, that's by committee. I mean, they produce great stuff. Not trying to take anything away, but layers and layers and layers, as opposed to Haunted West. It is truly one creator's passion.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, as he put on the cover, it's Chris Spivey and crew. The amount of people he brought in to work with him on that is there's a lot of people. I don't even remember all of them.
Indeed.
But at the same point, it was one person's vision really driving it.
100% agree with that.
So, anyway, you've got a little playtest thing out
Yes, I do.
that you were kind enough to send me, and you sent one to other Steve too, and he said he really liked it. But it's called Human Almost. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit at some point here or now
Yeah,
or whenever.
So let me give you the pitch. It's
All right.
Human Almost. It's a post-cyberpunk space procedural that uses the Forged in the Dark rule set. If you're familiar with any cyberpunk TV police procedural such as Almost Human, which this takes a good bit from, it's a good homage to that. Man and Machine, Minority Report when it was on TV for that half season. Shows like that. This kind of takes some of that, crime of the week. Let's go ahead and solve it in a single session. So everything's meant to be very over the top. It's big crimes of the future, and you're a detective. Your partner's a synthetic, which means they're a robot. One human, one robot. That's the conceit. And y'all are going to go out and solve whatever kind of crime. So we open with the call to actually investigate. Go and do your investigation, and you start putting together the clues as more crimes are happening, and you must save the day. Or the game, want to do something a little different. This game is presented as a pamphlet, right? So it's 2 pages front and back. Thank you. There it is. But it's 2 pages front and back. It's very condensed. It's the play test. There will be more pages as time goes on, but it's just trying to get you right there to where it's a very tight rule set. I want to do something different to where you have tags. So each tag is 1 to 4 words about your character, right?
Okay.
And end up with you have 8 tags for your character, and then as you approach situations, you have to take and apply a tag to that situation, right? So if your tag is, say, cowboy cop, when you go into the situation, whatever you have to do your role for, you would have to do it as a cowboy cop, right? So you're like, oh, well, it's over the top, I'm going to do something big. You're not going to do anything subtle because you're cowboy cop. That's going to give you that tag, which that tag gives you 1d6. Make a dice pool, basically up to 4 dice, roll them, and you take the single highest die and compare it to Forged in the Dark chart. See how well you did.
Okay. Now I get it a little better. I was a little confused at first, but it's a matter of you figure out which tags you can apply to the given role, and that's how you build the pool. Okay.
Let me tell you this. I'm very excited about that, what you just said, right? When I rolled this thing out, it's like I said, it's 2 pages front and back. Like, I don't know what I don't know, right? I can GM this game all day long, but when you put it out into the wild, you don't know if it's going to work or not. I've gotten feedback like that from people, from gamers that have told me, like, yeah, this is the part that doesn't make sense or that doesn't make sense. And because it's a play test, I can be so excited about getting that information.
Well, right. It lets you know what you need to add in.
Exactly.
Because, like, I think and I've encountered games like this. Actually bought one not too long ago on drive-through that apparently failed on Kickstarter twice.
Ouch.
And the pitch looked really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, oh, that's $10.
Fair.
So I bought it and I'm reading through it and I'm going, I like what this could be, but I don't think the creator understood that the several hundred pages they had was a notebook for the GM that invented it. And yes, I'm sure they play tested all the skills and the stats and everything they put in there. But there's so much knowledge that as a creator, it's easy to assume that other people have. And Steve and I have even talked about this just as part of GMing, that sometimes you have to be a lot more obvious than you think you need to be,
Yes.
because it's real easy to assume that everyone else thinks like you.
I earnestly hope they don't think like me, but I get what you're saying. I absolutely do.
Well, but you know what I mean? Like in the context of the conversation Steve and I were having, I think we were talking about like the clues that you leave for players to find things. And it's like, well, sometimes you have to make them what you think would be stupid obvious because you're looking at it from the backside.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And I would imagine, I mean, I've fiddled with trying to write an RPG system before, but I've never gotten more than, 2 or 3 pages into it, and then I set it aside and my attention goes to something else. But I would imagine it's the same principle applies in that, well, yeah, you just do this when this happens. Well, that's fine, but if you want someone else to use it, you have to tell them that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, tangent over. We can go back to talking about Human Almost.
No. Like, I think that what you're talking about, though, because while I've written a very, very, very small number of products, very small, these are the things that you got to learn, right? Because you write for what's in your head, and then you're surprised when other people don't get it. You're right. You got to make it very obvious. And that's the reason, instead of doing this one as, say, a final product, I'm doing the play test because I know it's not very obvious. I want someone to come back and say, hey, this has a glaring flaw, and I can work on that.
Well, it also feels like, and I don't have that much experience with Forged in the Dark. I was telling you before, but we started actually recording. I do own a Forged in the Dark title, but I've never actually used it. And there would be. Wait a minute. Ah, there he is.
I'm here.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. Sorry, guys.
Oh, good.
Okay, let me turn on the other robot real quick.
All right. It's been a fun evening. We went to dinner with my parents. On the way back from dinner with my parents, got a blowout on the way back to my house. So I had to wait with my parents for the tow truck to show up. Fun.
I'm sorry about that.
Hey, not your fault.
In any case, we were actually just talking about Human Almost.
Oh, my life is chaos. I haven't gotten a chance to read it, but it is so quality, dude. It's so nice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I can at least speak to the card stock that you use because it's fantastic.
Well, but like, I will say though, to echo what Steve's saying, it's like, okay, yes, it's a play test. It's simple, but it's effective, and it's thematic. I like it.
That's what I was hoping for when I put it together. That, and like you said, the nice card stock. I gotten one of Mothership's pamphlets, and it was this super nice card stock. So I went over to my printer and asked them, "Do you have something like this?" And they're like, "Yes." So I got them to replicate it in terms of just having the nice card stock. Did a really crisp job of printing it. So I was very happy with the final product and the way it looks.
Yeah, I mean, like it's and the fonts and the layout you've used all kind of speaks to what it's doing.
So my layout artist did an amazing job on that because that is my hurdle is I'm going to get X number of things done. And then when it comes to layouts, somewhere I'm going to drop that ball. That's the end of it for me. I can do stuff before that and I can do stuff after that, but not layouts. So my layout artist, she did a phenomenal job. I'm super happy with the way it looks. This whole product really started because of an RPG called CBR plus PNK, Cyberpunk.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
It's also a pamphlet, and it's also Forged in the Dark. And I saw it, obviously, big Cyberpunk guy, because I did a Cyberpunk game as well. And it immediately spoke to me. I'm like, okay, so these are the tips they gave me. Cyberpunk, pamphlet, Forged in the Dark. I can take all those things and do my own version.
Mm-hmm.
And that game is a lot of fun. It plays really well. It's like any, because it's also 2 pages, it's like any RPG like that. You're going to have to fill in the blanks, right?
Mm-hmm.
His is really well done to where there aren't that many blanks to fill in. Like, you got to think about the connections, but they make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that inspired me to do this, and now I'm big into pamphlet RPGs. Collect as many of them as I can.
Cool. I know it's not strictly pamphlet, but did you pick up that compilation that, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? The guy from One Shot, D'Amato, the compilation book he did of one-page RPGs?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, I missed out on that. No, I need to add that to my. In fact, I'd forgotten all about it. So you're saying that.
It's on my list too, just because, and like, how do I want to say it? Are they games that I would want to play a campaign of? Probably not, but they're great. Hey, a couple people didn't show up. There's only a couple of you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just fun, and like I know also like the procedurals and stuff. Like not too long ago, we played a game of Mutant City Blues,
Yes.
and it was refreshing to play that because a completely different style of games and with the procedural elements, and in that case it's superheroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I may take this to the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo with me and throw together a pickup or something.
Very nice. If you do, I'd love to hear about it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely let you know, because seems like it could be a couple of people, and okay, let's do this.
That's what I'm hoping for. All the play tests have generally had 2 players because one human cop, one synthetic cop, and then you can add in more people if you want to, but even numbers tend to work out better. And it worked reasonably well. They're short games, under 2 hours.
Something else you might want to check out, because it just sort of relates to this in my mind. Are you familiar with Partners from Tin Star?
Fortunately, I'm not.
Publisher's Tin Star Games. Steve D out of Australia.
Okay.
I don't remember which city now, but he's got a game called Partners that is all about essentially games of two PCs, and in his case, you're more playing the scene than necessarily the characters.
Mhm.
But like I said, I don't know. In my mind, they connect. So I don't know if that's something because I'm sure you don't have any games laying around that you want to read. So me suggesting more, is
Um, so, since I get I mentioned before this, but I get so many games to review, right, that I have literally to either side of me 2 stacks that are higher than my head of games to look at. And then Green Ronin just did their 75% off sale. So, a box showed up, and I'm like, oh, good. I got games to read. Oh, man. Games.
You know what? It's a good problem to have, right?
Amen.
So I've got, let's see. I don't want to think about the number of games that have. I got at least 2 free league titles.
Those are the best.
Yeah, well, I got the Twilight 2000 box, and I got added the Mutant Year Zero onto it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm really kind of excited to get Curse Captains of Cthulhu.
Nice.
It's a side gig from one of the guys from Modiphius.
Hmm?
So they use basically their Modiphius books, just not from Modiphius. Oh crap! I just realized too. I just got the PDFs for the 2nd edition of Fragged Empire too. God, my list is too long, and it's not anywhere near as long as yours.
It's a good list, and it's a fun list to have. So let's since we're talking about great games that are coming, should we talk about one that is this one makes my belly button pucker and unpucker.
Ooh.
Going to be coming to Kickstarter in October. Monty Python's co-curricular medieval reenactment program.
I have seen this on social media, but I have not followed any of the links yet.
All I can think every time I see it is that if that had been released in the late 80s or early 90s, I don't know if D&D would survive, right? Everyone would have been like, oh man, we're playing Monty Python again tonight.
Bet you
I am
love.
absolutely muted. That sounds amazing and absolutely terrifying all at the same time. Because it's either going to be fantastic, and I'm not saying anything about the creators or anything like that, but oh man, you do that wrong and it's literally the end of the world. Like
Well, I did see in the headline of the one thing, like I said, I didn't click the link to follow the article, but I did see that there are going to be fetch et lavage mechanics.
good.
Genius.
It's kind of like, I mean, not that it's on the same level, but it's kind of like, Steve Jackson Games GURPS Discworld Edition.
Mm-hmm.
It's, they're so lucky that game is almost perfect the way it is. Because if that was done wrong and didn't have Terry Pratchett officially signed off on it and work on that book, that could have been bad.
Amen.
Because there's only one person that can do Terry Pratchett's humor, and that's Terry Pratchett. Well, and maybe Neil Gaiman. But
Yes.
We don't talk about Good Omens.
Did y'all watch The Watch?
Sandman?
No. The Terry Pratchett, one of his Discworld books was about The Watch, right? And it got
Oh,
adapted
yes.
got adapted into a show called The Watch.
I didn't watch that. I need to.
No, I have not either.
It was not like, if you're a Pratchett fan, it's probably going to be more upsetting than not. I enjoyed the show for what it was, but it was steampunk, cyberpunk sort of thing, to where you're just like, I don't know, was Discworld like that? Slightly different take on humor too.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough.
Wow. Monty Python is an RPG. I love Monty Python, but boy, how do you make rule? Because
And you got to have the right group to do it. That is a group dynamic game that only works if you have like a very I just like I said, if it's good, it's going to be great. If it's bad,
you said it's coming next month though to Kickstarter.
One that I'm looking for, like that game with the right, as you said, right group doing a stream of that game would be genius.
That would be genius. You know what they need to do? Well, I mean, I don't know. It's might be an officially licensed thing. Get the remaining people from Monty Python to actually sit down and play it.
That would be so good. That would be so good.
Yeah. And the thing with the Pythons though is like it's equal parts extremely satirical and just bleeping nonsense.
Yes. Yeah, that's the big thing. And I think it works. Because that's a lot of humor now, is just absolute nonsense.
Amen.
But like and some of it though, like the fish slapping dance.
Yeah.
Who comes up with this crap?
Or the dead parrot sketch.
Yeah.
Oh, so much good Python. You're gonna make me end up go home. Like, I'm home already. No, not go home, but go to the living room and watch like Life of Brian or any of the Python movies, or even just turn the show on again.
Yeah, well the show the other thing about the show is usually they kept the skits short.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, and if they ran a little long, they were like, nope, no. They just hard cut that. Like, this skit has gone too long.
Yeah.
So much good Python. That's exciting.
One of us is going to have to buy this, Steve.
I think probably both of us are going to buy it. You know, there's some books that come out that we both are like, are you going to get it? Yeah, I'm going to get it. You know what? I'm just going to get it too. So what other wild and crazy things are coming to Kickstarter there?
Well, I don't know this is going to happen, but if you might think of the Monty Python game as the D&D of comedy, right? And the Pathfinder of comedy is going to be when they launch the Benny Hill RPG.
Or the Mr. Bean RPG.
Oh man, Mr. Bean would be so hard to do as an RPG.
So good though.
It would be, but how do you have a silent protagonist?
GM has to be silent. That would make the game. He's giving me looks.
Good
like, what are you
grief.
doing?
Good grief. All the other player characters and NPCs talk, but the GM has to be silent. Oh, makes my brain hurt.
Wouldn't do well for streaming, maybe, but definitely not for podcasting.
No, it wouldn't make a good podcast. But neither does Mr. Bean, the show. So it's a whole lot of wacky, zany music with nothing happening. Like, what's going on? I don't know. I can't hear.
So,
wow.
You asked before the podcast, we were talking about gaming conventions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now on Kickstarter, Ice and Dice gaming convention that's going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio in January. And
cool.
Your podcast, Werewolf the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So Ice and Dice is promising the Dark Reunion, where they're going to be bringing together a bunch of the World of Darkness creators, right? So Mark Reinhagen and blanking on all the rest of them. Anyways, creator of Vampire, Werewolf, a Mage, Changeling, all the original ones.
Wraith was the fifth one, wasn't it?
And I bring them all back together. First time, though, it will have been together at a convention in many, many years. Be running games and all that kind of stuff. So I want to go to that convention. I'm from Georgia. And Cincinnati in Ohio in January, I've never, like, we get an inch of snow every year, right? That's what Georgia gets. It's an inch. And, on a good year, we don't get any, but most years we get one or two. I don't know what to do. Like, do you go to Cincinnati?
I mean,
I'm the wrong person to ask.
yeah, we're both from Pennsylvania, so
And see, like, okay, our average snowfall here for the winter is what, about 2 feet, Steve?
on average.
Okay, I grew up on the northern border of Pennsylvania, where our average snowfall total for the year was about 10 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, you're from up near New York, so
Yeah, and so like it's a weird thing for me because people be like, it's snowing. Like we had a storm a few years ago, and we got 18 to 20 inches overnight,
mhm.
and I had to leave early the next morning and drive 4 hours to my parents' house because we had a family event. So the first hour and a half of the drive. So from my house to Punxsutawney, yes, the Punxsutawney-Phil Punxsutawney, which is
Okay.
probably 50 miles.
Yeah.
I took the main roads. I could have driven a snowmobile from my house to Punxsutawney and not ground off the Skags. There was that much snow on the road. Like, I was driving through 8 inches of snow on the highway.
Yeah, that was the year that everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working for the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation at that time. We were worried about keeping our main roads clear. That was it.
But yeah, I was I was literally cutting tracks in 8 inches of snow on the highway.
Doesn't shock me.
But yeah, that would be a harrowing experience if you were not at all used to it.
Yeah, like we can go like, hey, so 18 inches shut down where you're at, 1 inch, and we just close up shop, right? It'll be gone the next day, but just like, hey, good deal, we're done.
Well, here's what I would suggest. This is my advice. Maybe take a plane and fly into Cincinnati, and then just let somebody that's used to driving in the snow drive you around. Uber around.
It's definitely a thought.
Because if you're not used to driving in it, the worst thing you can do is learn by fire.
This is also true.
Amen. Yeah, that's my number one thought of like, do I go and like you said, fly in, have someone drive me around? That would be the best call. Or flip side of driving from here to there, and like if I get caught in a snowstorm, like I don't know what to do.
Yeah. No, I definitely know that I would very interested in going and checking that out.
Yeah, that would be.
Because it's January and it's not too far to Cincinnati, Steve. It's only, what?
5 hours.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about it, it's $40 for the weekend pass. And then the rooms at the hotel, the host hotel, are $89 a night.
Oh, that's cheap.
Bad at all.
Indeed. And what little I can see of the hotel, it looks really nice. And you're across the street from a mall. So I don't know how, like, if you can go over there and eat or whatnot, but it didn't seem like a bad setup in any way, shape, or form.
No, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Because that would be something that at least I'm close enough that I feel comfortable driving to Cincinnati at that time.
Yeah, I mean, well, you never know what you're going to get as far as a big storm coming through, but generally speaking, I'm not that. Because usually we go out right before Christmas. We go out to my brother's house in Indiana because my nieces and nephews have birthdays and then Christmas and blah, blah, blah. So we just go out one big trip for all of it.
That would be okay.
So just because I'm curious, I know you get to see a lot of games. What are like your, I don't say go-to games, but like, do you have favorite genres or games that you keep going back to?
So, I don't think I play a lot, but I play a lot. A lot of Powered by the Apocalypse and Forge of the Dark. Right now I'm running a campaign that's 5e. And we get around to doing our game of the week. I'll get into that one because I got a long spiel about it and don't want to give it away now. But
okay,
there's any game that I can get into. One of my favorite systems, though, bar none, is the Year Zero engine. Anything from Free League. I find that all those games they draw me in, especially Alien. Every time I play that game, I'm playing either Ridley Scott's movie or James Cameron's movie. They do an amazing job with the presentation and the actual game mechanics. I have the Blade Runner game. Really want to play it. The time is coming.
So see, Steve and I have talked about Blade Runner, and it's really weird because we're both kind of in the same spot that we both love the genre, the cyberpunk genre. Blade Runner is a fantastic movie, but I don't know if that's the cyberpunk I want to play. You know what I mean?
And I'm 100% with you. I feel this is the game, and not knocking Free League at all, but I feel this is the game to where you have a small group of people, and if everyone's distracted on their phone while playing, you got to sort of re-explain everything. That's going to be the right pacing to where you're going to be like, oh, this feels like the movie. I'm going to go through stuff very slowly. Oh, let me explain this again to you because you were on your phone. Okay, fine. That works. Like a lame joke.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I'm like with Steve. I like a fast-paced, quick and dirty. I'm a William Gibson novel guy, not necessarily like, I don't know. And I like Philip K. Dick's novels, but I like my cyberpunk games to be a little bit more Gibson, less Dick.
I'm with you. Legitimately, like playing Cyberpunk 2020 or something like that. It's a good time.
Oh yeah,
game rolls.
Let me tell you something that scratches that 2020 itch without the like tons and tons and tons of rules. Cyborg by Free League and Jonas.
Yeah, the Stockholm Cartel.
It hits that itch of fast, deadly, gritty, grimy, and it's not, you can't even say that it's like, oh, this is impenetrable with the rules. It's not. To play the game, the rules are 2 pages.
Nice.
And like the chaotic art style and layout that was Morkborg just adds, because they did the same theme, if you will, but it just adds to the cyberpunk vibe.
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting to get the shipping notification on that because the PDF is amazing, but I want the book in my little hands.
I don't blame you, Steve. I can't wait. I messaged Phil and told him to let me know when it comes into the shop because I want a physical copy so bad.
Yeah, if you're into cyberpunk, that's definitely worth checking out, Egg, if you haven't already.
I do not have the PDF of it. I did it was foolish and didn't back the campaign, so it's on my things I need to grab. I have a list going from this podcast, so I've got it written down.
It, like I said, it hits that just it's all punk and
Well, I don't know if it's just the backer PDF or if the for sale PDF is done this way, but the one copy I got as a backer, the PDF is done in spreads, not in individual pages. Nice. So it just, but like Steve said, the actual rules you need to play the game is like 2 pages. The rest of it is all just flavor, and it screams that go big, and if it doesn't work, make sure you go out spectacularly.
Nice.
Go big or die trying.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I've recommended it to everybody that likes cyberpunk, and then also simultaneously, the Spotify playlist that they made to go hand in hand with it is everything. So good. Man, that is a company that just knows how to make some fantastic RPGs.
Amen.
And a creator that just really knows how to make some fantastic RPGs.
Yes. Put something in the water in Sweden.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like you said, you're like we were talking about before about the passion level, and Morkborg Cyborg just screams how much they're doing it because they love it.
Well, and I mean, it's not to always draw the same comparison, but it's like Gabriel Quiroga and Hell Knight. There's such a passion there in Gav's games that it's just, which Hell Knight is really, really freaking cool.
I got to do a review of that for Knights of the Dinner Table. I told Steve earlier.
Nice.
And it's a great looking game. So like, it's easy to read. Font aside, it's easy to read.
Well, he's also released a text only version. So, if you do have issues with the fonts, you can get a text-only version to actually read and then go look at the pretty book.
We need to get Gav back on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be fun. So you're saying you play a lot of Forged in the Dark, PBTA stuff. So are you then more of a mid to low crunch guy typically, or?
Okay, so I'm not high crunch, but medium crunch I enjoy. I just don't have the time to really get into a game like that, like a World of Darkness games. That level of crunch, I really want to do that, but to sit down and like, okay, let me review the rules and then check everyone's powers, make the NPCs, blah, blah, blah. I don't have that kind of time in my life, so I end up doing a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse, Forged in the Dark, or games that already have all the NPCs laid out for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
I find that if the more things that are prepared, the happier I am.
Mm-hmm.
One of the only games that I make like the big exception for, Greg Campbell of Nerdburger Games does Capers. You know that game?
Yeah, I used it for Game of the Week a while ago, but yeah, I
Nice.
keep meaning to pick it up, but yeah.
I'm a huge fan now. It helps that I met him. We live in the same city. And I've been to conventions with him, and I just really dig the fact that you're playing superpowered gangsters in the 1920s, right? And and the mechanic uses cards. And I don't always love games that have a card mechanic because this one has a gambling element. It just feels like part of the world. It expands the experience. And so when we play games like that, I'll take the time to read up all the rules and make all the NPCs and do that because I feel the game is really worth diving into.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, though, like you said, I have to go rules light just because that's the amount of time that I have available.
I hear you. I find myself trending that way. I used to, and I appreciate good crunchy games, but like you said, it's the time and even as a player, like I like to know what I can actually do, and yeah, like there's Black Void I've heard is really good, but it begs for you to spend a lot of time with it, and yeah, job, podcast, life.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
But to that same point, the reason I developed my RPG, I've done one Powered by the Apocalypse and I've done one Forged in the Dark, and not only is it for me, it's easier to wrap my head around creatively building those kinds of games because it makes all the peripheral stuff, the NPCs, the monsters, the test, need to worry about weapons, blah blah blah. It makes all that simpler. You can just describe the world, describe the mechanics, go. I had to do as much of the extra. So creatively, that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't Forged in the Dark kind of derivative of Powered by the Apocalypse in the first place?
I would absolutely agree with that statement.
Okay, I thought I had read that somewhere that when Harper, first conceived the Blades in the Dark, that it was heavily inspired by Powered by the Apocalypse.
They both have the static chart of you need to roll this number. So 6 is good, 4 or 5 is okay, 3 or less is not as good for Forged in the Dark. Then same basic concept, but double those numbers because you use 2d6 for Powered by the Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, we have if not playbooks, then really something close to it, and it's fiction first. So
yeah, I go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I'm definitely grabbing Steve knows based on the games I've been running recently, but me and fiction first games have become I'm going for that and going for games that are narratively heavy and dice light because I don't have the mental capacity to keep track of all the numbers anymore. I used to be able to do that. I probably still could if I really found a system I really wanted to run, but boy, it's so nice to have a system that just don't worry about if you go a session without rolling dice, it's not the end of the world. And it's kind of nice to have that. We've been playing Retro Star on our Wednesday nights games, and that is a blast of a game. Especially because Steve knows I take the 70s sci-fi and crank it up to 11.
Everyone has flare bell bottoms.
Yeah, everybody's in velour suits and bell bottoms and mylar jackets, and yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to play a game like that. That would be absolutely awesome. I'm talking about the rules light stuff, but at the same time, I'm running a 5e game that's a diesel punk RPG. It's 5e, and it's crunchy, but I'm doing so much stuff to try and make it less crunchy because like I don't want to pull out a book and figure this out. So just roll a 20 and tell me what happens.
See, that's where we talked with Eddie Webb not too long ago about Pugmire, and it was interesting because he said his kind of goal was to design the D&D that everyone remembered, not the one that got published.
I think he nailed that. Yes.
And like, you hear that and you're like, what? But I get what he means because we all have these memories from playing D&D back in the day or whatever, and we never quite get there when we sit down to actually try and play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more that we've just forgotten all the surrounding miscellany that happened back then.
I wonder how much of that is also the current edition of D&D, because like I still run a AD&D game for that reason. Right. Well, I used to run an AD&D game because it's nice not having like there are rules in AD&D, but one of the first conceits of AD&D is that everything can get thrown out the window if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the first conceits in AD&D is like, well, you don't have the book. It's not a huge deal. You're not missing anything important. Just make a rule up, and as long as it's fair and balanced to everyone, you're good to go. And that's the thing that I think more modern editions of Dungeons and Dragons is missing is that like, no, it's okay. It's okay to just make it up. Yeah, it's fine. No, seriously.
Yeah. Grew up on AD&D, right?
Yeah.
And it did have those rules, and I could swear that my DM's book, the golden rule was your character dies. You're going to need to roll up a new one.
That I feel bad that was a lot of people's experience with that game, because that game has a lot of narrative abilities. It's like the Dallas RPG.
Well, but I think the OSR movement speaks a little bit to this, and I think the other part of it is how old were most of us when we were playing AD&D initially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We didn't see it the same way we see role-playing now.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that thought for sure.
I know I listened to a podcast for a little while, for 8 or 10 episodes, there was a guy was running his middle school daughter and several of her friends through Pathfinder. And it was so refreshing to hear the kind of innocence that they played with. Like I remember at one point hearing one of them say, well, yeah, I don't want to go over there. I'll get my boots dirty. But when we sit down to play, well, we've got to go to where the monster is to kill it. Be damned what's in the way. You know what I mean? And it's not that either way is wrong, but that kind of innocence and just, not thinking about the end result, but really, thinking like your character, that we lose some of that as we get older and try to analyze everything to make it more efficient.
Amen. I'm always my players, bless their hearts, I love them to death. But when you run into a situation, right? I'm a spellcaster. Let's just go through and like, well, how do I handle this with a spell? Like, we got to get through the door. Well, like, what spell do I have? Like, there's a doorknob. There's always that option. Like, oh, I could use like Mage Hand to open it. No, there's doorknob, and your character's got a hand. You make this work.
I have an axe. Well, there's a doorknob.
Drop kick it.
It opens it like fine. You drop kick the door, nothing happens. Roll to see if you hurt yourself.
We laugh, but we've all watched it happen or done it.
Amen.
Oh, yeah, and I've run characters through it where it's like, I drop kick the door. I'm like, okay. All right. Roll dice. I want to see. If you roll fantastic, I'll let this door open for you. If you don't, you botch this roll, you're going to hurt yourself. And it's going to be funny. And everybody at the table is going to laugh as you're laying there hurting yourself.
Good times.
Yeah. And that's, again, that goes back to the D&D that we remember. None of those things were rolls that, like, the book would tell you to make. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the book would tell you not to make those rolls. But don't make your players roll to open doors. Well, they don't want to open the door. They want to kick the door down. Like,
Yeah, but it is. You're right. With the modern games, that it's such a trend to. Okay, look, we don't have to roll for that, so we're just not going to deal with it. You just do it.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, but it's nice. It's nice. The idea that if it's a frivolous roll, don't make it. Like if the outcome isn't entertaining one way or another, like it has to be entertaining to have a bad outcome and it has to be entertaining to have a good outcome. And if that's not entertaining or even a middling one, then don't make your players roll those dice because it's just not entertaining for anybody.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, well, that was our experience with Gumshoe when we played Mutant City Blues. It was like the point spend that they use for some of the stuff is like, it's like, look, you're trained, you're competent,
Yeah, just blow a point on it. Don't even worry about rolling dice.
but at the same point, that doesn't just let you, like, you can't just spend points willy-nilly because you don't know if you're going to need some.
Right.
So it still creates that tension without rolling frivolously.
Right.
Laws is a heck of a designer, really.
So, speaking of Gumshoe and it being a great game, I was playing that game one time, and the guy's like, "Okay, we're gonna be playing Gumshoe." I'm like, "That's gonna be awesome." It's like, "We're gonna be playing kids." I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." And he's like, "We're gonna be playing the Peanuts." I'm like, "This is the greatest Gumshoe game ever."
That would be fun. That would be a lot of
That was
fun.
amazing fun.
Because I could absolutely see Gumshoe being able to do Peanuts. Like, that's not a hard sell
Mhm.
at all.
It was a great game.
Wow. I gotta keep that quiet from one of my players because he'll do nothing but bug me to play that game if I tell him. He'll be like, "Can I play Charlie Brown?"
Was that actually something published, or was it a homebrew thing?
Homebrew. We pre-pandemic, a bunch of the Atlanta creators would get together. Chris Tang, who at the time worked for Drive-Thru RPG, he ran that, and that was such a good game. And it hurt me because, like you just asked, is it published? If it was, I'd own every copy. It was just so much fun. It's one of those to where, like, the world, and like it doesn't bother you that the beagle's on top of his a doghouse flying it around. She's like, "Yeah, sure, that makes sense." Underground bunker these got full of stuff. Sure, okay.
That's the beautiful thing about those, what do you want to say, more narrative type games, though, is that, like, because if you wanted to play that in a D&D, then you got to stat everything out, and then...
What are the stats for a beagle?
Yeah. But, like, and so often you end up where then, because you have it statted, now it has to obey rules.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what it should be able to do, but if you make it, the stats fit what it should be able to do, now it's obnoxious as far as the power level. And it's like, well, no, it just does this because it does. It doesn't have all these special properties. It just does its thing. Like, we all understand what it does.
I want to stat out the Great Pumpkin.
Well, who's it? I've heard it said, but gamers are those types. If you give it stats, then they can kill it.
Yeah. That was the old adage. If you give it stats, they will kill it. That's why to this day the Lady of Pain has never received stats.
Playing AD&D, so you got what's the name of the book with the demigods and all the gods?
Deities and demigods?
I had that moment where I was just like, "Oh, there's a book. Say the cover." But yeah, like, so it's got all the stats, so you got to go kill all the gods because that sounds wholesome and fun.
I like to play the campaign that's after that one. No, I'm not even joking. Like I've literally run my players through the campaign of, okay, well, a bunch of quote unquote heroes just killed all of the gods, and now the world's falling apart. Congratulations.
That would be fun.
Like I had a player that wanted to roll up a mage, and I'm like, magic doesn't work quite right, but sure, go for it. And he's, what do you mean magic doesn't work? Well, the thing that controlled the magic is gone.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I've done. I loved running games but that's my twisted sense of humor. Is that like, all right, well, you were a hero. Congratulations. Now the city has to rebuild. Thank you for burning down the tavern. Now we have nowhere to drink, and everybody hates you.
No more adventures. The tavern's gone, so they can't meet.
Yep.
Now you have to meet under the tree.
We open at a town hall meeting.
appreciate takes D&D in the right path because it's new and different and it's fresh. Just because there was destruction and now there's consequences.
Well, I'm always about the consequences. That Steve knows. I like the action reaction economy in RPGs.
Well, that's like I've said it before, but that's what made Breaking Bad such a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Was that there were consequences.
Constantly.
Yeah, it wasn't just, good luck.
Kids, I'm gonna go sell drugs. This will be fine. Fine.
It won't turn out badly. This won't turn out badly. Oh man. But how many times have you been that player where you're sitting there going, nah, this won't turn out badly?
Every time. Every time. And I'm still shocked when it does. Like, wait a minute. The dice didn't go with me?
What? This come back to bite me in the ass. Oh no.
Yeah, but it does it makes things feel so much different when your actions do have meaningful consequences. And not just the good ones.
Campaign I'm running right now, I'm trying to make sure that basically they don't get to kill the bad guys all the time, right? And they're constantly like, we got to go get this guy because you keep bringing them back, jerk. Everything's got to, like you said, there has to be consequences, but it has to be fun. It has to advance not just the story, but the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sort of, there was a period there where there was a video game came out called Shadow of Mordor.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody was trying to copy what they did because they had a nemesis system that was absolutely phenomenal. And there was a period there where that was a lot of like, oh, well, you killed that guy? All right, well, his underling is this guy, and he's going to step up, and he's going to be like 3 times worse than that guy was.
That is genius.
And left my players going, yeah, we got the bad guy. Whoa, wait a minute. No.
Well, yeah, it's like you clear out the dungeon. Well, what moves in after you cleared out the things that were there?
Cult. And that's when you switch from D&D to Call of Cthulhu. You just call it good enough.
Oh, man. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to talk about tonight, Egg?
Only other, I should probably, since started out talking about my game, appreciate y'all letting me do that. If anyone wants a copy, it is free on DriveThruRPG. It's free on itch.io. Just go in there, search for Egg Embry. That'll get you to where you need to go. And it's human, ... almost.
Cool. Also, just because I know we've mentioned you write for Knights at the Dinner Table. I know you write for the D20 blog. You write for EN World. Where all can people find you and the things you do?
Well, you just gotta look for me on social media because I don't have a website to speak of. I write for all those, the Tessera Guild, and then anyone else will have me. And I'm Egg Embry on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not difficult to find.
I found you.
You just use everybody else's website.
Yes.
You don't need your own.
Technically, I have one that's 100 years old and don't do anything with it.
Yeah. No.
Who has the time? Who has the time?
Seriously.
Very cool. All right. Well, shall we do Game of the Week?
Yeah.
Game of the Week.
Woohoo! Game of the Week.
Game of the week. Game of the week.
All right. Who's going first?
Not me.
Not you?
Not me.
You want to go first, Egg, or you want me to?
I got one. It's only going to take me about 30 minutes to go through how awesome it is.
Okay. Let's go then.
So we're going to talk about mazes from 9th level games. Y'all played that?
Okay. No.
Okay,
No.
so mazes from 9th level games. This is my favorite, not old school RPG. So every character class gets 1 die. Okay, so you get a D4, a D6, a D8, or a D10. That is whatever die you get. That is the only die you will roll. Okay, so if you get the D4, you're effectively like the wizard. And there are 4 different stats that you have: books, boots, blades, and body. Each of them have a different set of numbers that you're trying to roll, right? So for books, the success is on a 2 or a 3. So if you're the D4, you roll a 2 or 3, you succeeded. If you roll a 1, that also succeeds on most things. If you roll a 4, which is your highest number for the D4, obviously, it also has a chance for success. So it's a really fun game because you just have the 1 die. You're never going to ask, like, hey, you just roll your 1, and then you compare it against the different static blocks, right? So body is like 6, 7, 8, 9 is your success. If you have the D4 and you hit a 4, you can roll it again to add to it. But as a game, when you're sitting there playing it, I played the excellence. I played excellence and mazes. Saying the wrong word. Mazes, and anyways, all the the polymorph games use this simple system, but it's very fun. So I've done it Origins with them, and then when I got to Gen Con, I was going to play the game. They were doing mazes at midnight. I was talking to the owner of the company, and they were going to have 100 people show up, and Gen Con had a problem where they didn't have enough GMs come in. So they asked me if I'd run, and it was a great experience getting to run their game. I had my own table, and it was a lot of fun doing something very old school, which is really simple mechanics.
Very
cool. Yeah, it does look really neat.
I've written a couple of articles about it, and then I've done 2 different zine versions of it, and now a hardcover. I have them all. I just enjoy the game a lot. It's the best. Like, we need to play something. There's 4 of us. It's an hour and a half, and we're just going to go through a dungeon and destroy. Have at it. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing character creation.
Looks like they won some awards for it too, like the Groundbreaker Award from the IGDN thing.
And I believe it's won an ENnie.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, it's saying it was nominated for Best Rules.
Thank you. That's what it was. Thank you.
And won the Independent Game Developers Network Indie Groundbreaker Award for Best Rules.
Thank you. That is it exactly.
Yeah, I just found it on drive-thru and was reading it. That's all. All right.
I'm ready, or do you want to go, Steve?
No, you can go.
All right. How do you feel about the Muppets?
I love the Muppets.
Yeah.
I have a game in front of me here, speaking of Nerdburger games, called Felt, Friendship, and Feelings.
Nice.
Published from Nerdburger Games. The author's Craig Campbell. Felt, Friendship, and Feelings is a tabletop role-playing game inspired by those puppet TV shows, movies we love. And, man, I'd be so down to play a Muppets RPG. Get on it, Disney. Come on. But in the meantime, I will absolutely be picking this up. It's $5.99 on DriveThruRPG for the PDF. It's a GM-less game, so no GM is needed. Everybody plays a puppet person. You can create characters and be off on your adventure in a matter of minutes, which is something I absolutely love. I just want to try it so bad.
That does sound...
Sounds fun and wholesome and just a really decent time.
Yeah, also sounds like it'd be really fun if we'd spent a few too many hours drinking before we started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you end up like those older Muppet movies. Or the TV show. I mean, if it depends on how intoxicated you are and what level. Because, like, you either end up in the more modern era of the Muppets where it's very childish, or in the older era where, Jim Henson was making Muppets that blew people's faces off because they wanted to sell coffee.
I'm going to play Waldorf and
Oh, so that sounds cool.
It does sound like a great time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I would love to play that game. Like, I like all of Craig Campbell's games. He does a phenomenal job with all of them. So that one, yes, would absolutely be a winner.
Well, I'll keep you in the loop if I can get something going here.
That would be awesome. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on to play something with us at some point.
Would be a great time.
Yeah, because I really would love to. That just sounds like a really nice, relaxing game that I'd love to get into and just have a blast. I already have sort of a list of people that I'm inviting to play this game. There's a name that comes up on this podcast a lot that's probably getting an invite. Jesse.
Oh, Jesse's fun to play anything with.
Yes, but Jesse playing the Muppets.
Yeah.
To be fair.
All right. So you done with that one?
I'm done. What do you got, Steve?
Well, I found a game, and of course I get to have the expensive game this week.
What's yours, $10?
No, it's actually about $25 for the PDF.
Oof.
But this is
break
from
the bank on me, that one.
Ulysses Spiel.
Ooh.
And it's a game called Space 1889. And the kind of the first 4 lines of the pitch are everything Jules Verne could have written, everything H.G. Wells should have written, everything Arthur Conan Doyle thought of, but never published because it was too fantastic. So it's 1870, and Edison invented space travel, and just your imagination takes off from there. Again, Verne, Wells, Doyle. It looks. I don't know anything about this ubiquity rule system that they use, but the setting sounds amazing.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's
like a lot of fun.
Steampunk in space is going to be a good time.
Oh,
yeah, but this feels a little more like it doesn't feel steampunk to me so much as old sci-fi, which I know is a weird distinction. I get caught up on words sometimes, though, so ignore me.
It's fine. It's fine. I think it has a lot of potential. No two ways about it.
Yeah, like especially because some of the Jules Verne stuff. I mean, it really is. If you put it in context, it is really out there stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could get behind that. That sounds really cool.
Let's say there's swamp season jungles on Venus. Dinosaurs. Mercury has all these resources, but it's inhabited by primeval life forms. There's all sorts of uncharted areas on Earth to go explore. It's just everything from the foggy alleys of London to dusty streets on Mars.
Well, that's the more recent version of it then, huh?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, because I found an older version too. That's interesting. Older version that was originally produced by GDW, which tells you how old that version is.
Nice.
But yeah,
tons and tons of additional material for that too, though.
Yeah. Well, just look at the source material.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I mean, even just in add-on splat books or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Oh my.
Very cool, Steve. Nice pick.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I was going to jump in with the thing that I wanted to say. So again, it's your 100th episode. That's absolutely amazing to me. Congratulations. And I'm really, really, really happy to have been here for the 100th episode. So thank you for having me.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on and being on for our 100th episode, and just having a conversation with us. Honestly, it's we appreciate any time you're on, and anytime you want to come back. If you got something you want to peddle, or you just want to come talk about cool games that are coming out, please hit us up. Feel free to let us know, because you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We will tell all 6 people that we paid to listen that you're coming.
I mean, I don't know how excited they're going to be, but hey, Oh, it's egg. Oh. Be one of those episodes.
Well, see, look, our show's like a grab bag, right? You download the episode, you're never really sure what's going to come out.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing this, and for 100 episodes is quite a bit.
Yeah. With all that being said, we want to thank you so much for coming on, and remind everyone to be kind to one another and get out there and play some RPGs.
Yep. Take care, y'all.
Talk to y'all another time. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast, on Discord at Me and Steve RPGs, and as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.